All right, welcome to episode 2 of Leading the Standard with ATOL, where once again we are exploring the ever-evolving world of ISO management systems and sharing ways to turn your passions for quality into a rewarding career. So as usual, I'm here with Jackie, who will be leading our discussion today. And while I'll be throwing in those tough questions and maybe a little bit of banter here and there. So remember, we are live streaming. So all of the unscripted moments, you will be getting those for free with every episode. We've already got a reel of those happening, ready to go.
Oh my God.
Today, as I mentioned, we are breaking down episode number 48 of our Lead the Standard newsletter, and we're focusing on the art of quality management and leadership in challenging environments. So a little bit of what we've got lined up for you today: how to get your boss excited about quality, and I challenge you to get them as enthusiastic as my own boss. We'll also navigate through those stubborn organizational silos and showcase the real value of quality certifications. Plus, Jackie will have, as always, some other practical tips on pushing through when priorities clash and why investing in quality isn't just good practice, but smart business. So grab your coffee, I have mine, and let's unpack some actionable insights that can help you and your team make a bigger impact. So are you ready to dive in, Jackie?
I am. I think you threw me when you said, let's see if we can match the enthusiasm of your own boss. I didn't see that before.
Yes, it is a real challenge. Okay, so as I mentioned in this episode, we are going to cover the following insights and actionable strategies to handle bosses with differing priorities regarding quality. And these are understanding the quality challenge, leading across silos, and strategies for convincing skeptical bosses. And I've got a few tips for you there too. So, Jackie, as always, we've recently got another email from a student, and I'm going to read this one out. I really appreciate how quickly you got back to me. It's awesome when people are on the ball like that. Quality over deadlines is something I am passionate about, and I hope to spread that mindset to my team. I'm really excited about our upcoming meeting and getting into some productive discussions with my boss. By the way, if you have a spare moment, I'd love to pick your brain about handling bosses with different priorities, particularly when it comes to navigating situations where quality isn't their top concern. So I think viewers from last week will be familiar with that. And as we promised, we are going to get into that a little bit deeper. So I guess that is a great opportunity and time for me to hand over to you, Jackie.
Thanks, Kelly. I have been told to give a short answer because I do tend to ramble, as everyone knows. So I actually received that email, and I'll go into it a little bit more. And I'm well known for skipping ahead as well. So the short answer for that, and I'm not going to leave it as a short answer, I will expand on it. Look, when I first received the email, I had to come up with something, a bit of a short list to provide to our student. What I came up with after I thought about it for a little while was we really need to answer the why. So why are they implementing a quality management system? It can be any ISO management system really, but in this case, it's quality. Understanding this will help you to get your boss on board and manage that skepticism. So I came up with 4 whys. Business impact, so managing customer complaints, quality of products, any non-conformances. Efficiency, so streamlining processes and even resources. Compliance or conformance, depending on whether it's legal or other. So building a framework to manage that. And then the influence or interest from stakeholders. So those were the 4 I came up with, Kelly. What do you think?
I think they are a great place for us to start. I'd love to know more.
Okay. I love how you said that's a great place to start because then I can expand on them. But you did say we were covering 3 topics, and I will expand on those in the strategies for convincing those skeptical bosses. But before then, we're going to cover understanding the quality challenge and leading across silos, because I think we've got some really great stories to tell there. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I shall lead then. So, understanding the quality challenge. And as you saw, Kelly read out that email that I received. And don't you love the enthusiasm from this student? I have always loved this. He's been a real quality champion ever since he did our ISO 9001 course. So he said he really appreciated how quickly you got back to me. That's me. That's what I'm very painful about responding to people. He said it's awesome when people are on the ball like that. And those two statements are leading to his passion about quality. And then he goes on to say quality over deadlines is something I'm passionate about. So you can see the enthusiasm that Kelly was talking about earlier, that this gentleman, and he's heading up like the quality team within a smaller scope of the business he works for. But you can see his enthusiasm. He's really excited about his upcoming meeting with his boss. Okay, so he's excited. Is the boss excited? And it appears not. So that's when he sort of segued into, if you've got a spare moment, can I pick your brain about handling bosses with different priorities? And look, bosses do have different priorities, don't they? I can vouch for that. Like the first thing, and Kelly knows this, the first thing I ask is how much?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, I have to process.
And not all bosses know either the impact that that's having on the people that are doing the job. So it might not necessarily be the financial side of things. They might not know how it's going to impact and improve on yourself and your team. So there's other things to be thinking about there as well.
Yeah, that's true. And that's actually a really good point to hold on to when we talk about leading across silos, because I think you particularly do that well. There's always got to be someone within an organisation that manages the different units. And I suppose we all, and I hate to say it, because I hate silos, and I hope that ATOL doesn't have them, but I'm pretty sure we don't. We communicate very well. But there is still that requirement to manage cross-function. And as you said, each person has their own priorities. And as someone that not only works in the operational part of the business, a boss has that overarching responsibility as well, which includes the financial. I mean, everyone wants to get paid, don't they?
Absolutely.
So that really is that overarching, and I'm going to say it's a stressor.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's something that the boss is carrying. So obviously that's always the first question I think of, well, how much is it? So even if it's a little subscription, because I get those emails all the time, this is only $30 a month.
Per person.
Well, that's the other thing, per person. But how many subscriptions do we have? If we've got 10, 20, 100 subscriptions, because that's what they're hoping for, are we still using them? So it is, that's why bosses do sort of tend to, and I'll go back to this student. He said where quality isn't their top concern. I think ultimately it is, don't you think? But it might not show.
Yeah, it might not be in the sense of ISO 9001, but quality is always going to be top of mind for any business owner or manager, just in a different context to the black and white. Yeah,
agreed. So breaking that email down, when I read that and was prepping for the podcast, it did lead me to our situation. We did touch on this in the previous episode, because it led me to think about understanding the quality challenge, bosses with different priorities. Their vision is really financial first. using those 4 topics that I mentioned earlier, business impact, efficiency, compliance, and stakeholders, if you keep those top of mind, Kelly, can you share how you managed to get me on board to implement HubSpot, our CRM? And I did say this last week, this is not an ad for HubSpot. We're just using this as an example. By the way, it is amazing. Thank you, Kelly, for talking me into it. So you know what the outcome is. But I thought this was a similar situation to our student and the roadblocks that he's coming up against. And I thought if you could share using those 4, I suppose, strategies and what you did to talk me into spending, I'll say, investing in HubSpot. How long did it take you first, Kelly?
Yeah, it took quite a lot of time.
Years, didn't it?
Yeah, easily a year minimum of a year, easily. And I think the term investing there is really important. A boss manager is always going to be considering the investment in the business rather than the spend on the business. I think they're 2 very different terms that we need to consider. And when you are presenting to your boss, manager, whoever it is, that this opportunity that you can see in the business for improving on the quality, you need to be considering the investment side of things. So I will go through those 4 points, as Jackie mentioned. So I talked last week about my background as an EAPA office manager prior to joining ATOL. And for me, looking at all those different systems and efficiencies, it was really frustrating to see that, look, when I'll be honest, when we started, when I started 9 years ago with ATOL, it was only myself, Jackie, and we were working with another face-to-face training business. So there was a few of us there. And our CRM system at the time was pretty much the Google inbox. That's where we started. My first challenge was to get from our student management system, which was built into the website, and this Gmail inbox to the next level so that we had something to manage, follow up the students that we were looking at that time.
That we could all see.
Absolutely.
Because how I started off managing it in a Google inbox, Gmail, then it was just me, so I couldn't share it with anyone, which was fine when it was just me.
And I think that's important too. You need to, when you're looking at these things, need to look at not just now, you need to look at the growth opportunities or what your plans are ahead.
Point. Yes.
So I did what every boss would like, and I found a free CRM, which had limitations, but ATOL was still very much a baby, and we were really excited about 1 enrollment a week at that time. So we've grown quite a lot since then. So that gives you an idea of what we were kind of managing and looking at. Then from there, we had to have something, as Jackie said, that she could look at while off-site, I could manage on-site. We had to be able to have an idea of what products people were looking at. We had a much smaller course offering and a course suite at that time. So having to look at all of those things. That was okay. Again, a small free CRM, but then we needed to have, hang on, we haven't got a support system. So we had our inboxes. Everybody had their own inboxes, and they were linked to the info email address, which in itself was frustrating because we were all getting that same email but couldn't see who was reading that email, if it had been responded to, all those sorts of things. So you've got all that chaos of one email but multiple places in which it was managed. So everyone was tackling, and then most of the time, have you responded to this person? Yes, I've responded. You'd have 3 directors asking me, have you done this? Yes, here it is. It's in my sent box, not yours. All of that confusion. So then we went on to, as we said, a free CRM that all of the inquiry came into. We had we had another platform which was ticketing, which was actually managing the system. So we had email.
It was separate, wasn't it?
And and then we got to the
Yeah.
point where we grew and we couldn't, we outgrew the free version on both of those platforms. So we had to subscribe to those. And then you would need to manage the customers' inquiries in one platform. And then you'd need to transfer them into the sales platform.
That's
and then
right.
we had another one that was managing the support tickets. So we had these 3 systems. Plus we had, on top of that, separate from the customer side, our marketing side. So again,
can I just point out here, I've written a few things down because it sounds like a counselling session. It sounds like a counselling session for you more than anything. but can you see Kelly sharing her frustrations? And I think, as quality managers or OH&S managers trying to implement systems, I think Kelly's actually started at a really good place because she's sharing how frustrating it was. But she's also pointed out that the systems that we had along the way did the job at the time. But you have to understand when it's not enough, that it's not doing the job, because like you mentioned, we grew and things changed. We had more team members. So what was working initially for a smaller team or smaller, like lower enrollments, it no longer worked. So we have to be constantly assessing and reassessing, is this doing the job? But I love that you have used this as a counselling session.
You love that I'm frustrated, thanks.
Are you okay, Kelly? Have you gotten over it?
No. I've got other things. It's okay. But all of that addresses the business impact, because frustrated employees become disgruntled employees, unhappy employees, and then you have to think of all of the turnover things. So thankfully, I am persistent and resilient. Otherwise, it could have ended up very differently for me and for ATOL. But that kind of all is that business impact. And as I mentioned, we had those systems, plus we had marketing systems on the side as well that we were working with. So we had we were working with Buffer, again, the free version, but we could only do we could only post 10 things per month or something like that. They've grown, we've grown, all those things. So again, all those systems worked at the time. I think at one point I just had enough and just Googled and was looking at different CRMs that did everything, because all of our team meetings were, where's this, where's that? And there was little communication. We've always been, I say always, once we hired our second employee, from that point we were always work from home. We've always been a remote team. So communication for us is extra important, and that would still apply into a face-to-face environment as well. But all of our meetings were trying to chase each other's tails and, have you done this, or where is this, what's on the plan? Nobody could see what anyone else was doing or had done, which made things, responsibility, capability. There was I don't want to say a lack of trust, but you always felt like you were questioning someone's capacity rather than trying to understand the processes or things that had happened. So
or get on with your own job.
Exactly. Yeah. And but being able to see the impact other people's jobs have on yours, it was a real challenge. So I did what I did and went out and had a look, and I found HubSpot. I found a few, but HubSpot seemed to match the things we needed. We needed a CRM. We needed a sales platform. We needed a marketing platform. We needed an email platform. Oh, that was the other one, MailChimp. So there was 6 or 7 different platforms. And I said to Jackie, we need this. And look, honestly, my approach in the beginning was just about, I'm frustrated. Can we just do this? We need this. It took me a long time to realize not only the business impact, but the efficiency was part of the investment as well. And I sat down and I did the numbers. Okay, you've got this platform, this platform, this platform, and this platform that we're paying for. This platform we're not paying for, but we're restricted in what it can do. Or we can, and that's costing us $75 million. Or Or we've got this platform that most of our team is open to change. Some people were a little bit, I'm not so keen on this, but I'll do what I have to do. That costs $55 million, and it does all plus a couple more, but everyone can see everything. It exceeds what we need right now. It kind of future-proofs us. We can grow and provide a better service for our customers, better support and transparency within our team. We can streamline those processes. We've got one source of the truth, and that's big here at ATOL. We are big on one source of the truth. We don't like to have the same procedure, 5 different places for the 5 different teams for the same thing. It's always one source of the truth. For compliance purposes, so that was the third point Jackie raised. When it came to our ASQA and our Exemplar Global audits, all of the data that we needed relating to enrolments and students and communication was there. So that was a nice, quick, easy efficiency space in there. Obviously, we can see that a lot more transparently. We can communicate with our students pre, post, and during all of the things that we needed. And again, stakeholders, our students, our current students, our former students, our future students, all of
our
those
staff members, stakeholders.
Absolutely. All of those things, our contractors, we can communicate with our contractors and our SMEs much better as well. So the impact was much greater than $55 million output. It was a $10 million.
I just want to say it wasn't 55 million or 75 million. Kelly is just over, what is it?
I'm using Jackie's numbers. I am flourishing the figures.
That just means it was expensive.
It does. But by sitting down and having a look and planning it out a little bit better than just, we need this, I want this, and seeing the current business situation, knowing where we wanted to go and comparing the options, it was actually, it saved us money and made us money. It made the team much more cohesive in the work. We were already a good team, but our work styles became a lot more cohesive because we weren't chasing each other for information that was available in the system. So we went from, we went from about 7 or 8 different platforms all over the place. We now work out of HubSpot and Asana. And even our personal emails, we don't really use that much. Most of that's communicated through Slack. There we go. We have 3 platforms that we use now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was, and you just reminded me actually, because I couldn't remember how this played out. It was a while ago, but
maybe I do have some PTSD.
Yeah, because you just reminded me that is how you ended up selling it. You compared the old, this is the current situation, and it's not just how much these platforms cost us, but the frustrations, how they're not actually meeting our requirements, and it's still costing us this much. But if we shifted to this platform, it would cost us this much, but these are the benefits we would see. So I sort of led into this understanding the why. And I think by you doing that, and I suppose I just want to get it clear out there. Yes, we're talking about a CRM, a ticketing system. It's HubSpot, but use HubSpot like it is a quality management system or an integrated management system or a OH&S management system. It's exactly the same. We're putting in, Kelly wanted to put in a new system. So she had to figure out a way to get me on side and present it so that I could see the benefits. And that's why she covered like the business impact and everything you said. I think when you're covering the business impact, that's where your frustrations were coming through. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
But that also led into the inefficiencies, I was going to say. Yeah. And the potential efficiencies. You mentioned stakeholders, and you covered our students, our contractors, our staff members, and so on. Oh, you did mention compliance because it helps with audits.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's covered. You know what else? And I thought of this, one of the, I won't remember it exactly now, I'm put on the spot, but one of the principles around quality management is being able to make informed decisions, evidence-based.
Evidence-based decision making.
I, as you know, love the reports in HubSpot.
Yes. That was something that we were completely not doing. Yeah. Asked a question and it was, well, we've had this many enrollments, but what does that mean?
What does it mean? And how can we compare it to something else? And now, and we only just did that in a team meeting yesterday. You know, we could look at the enrollments, we can look at deals, we can compare website to nurtured. Like there's so much factual. Yeah, it's all factual. So you know what we can do with factual information? Make better decisions. So, you know, that was probably something that we may not have realised. It did so well, and that we weren't. Actually, Kelly, can you remember the reports that we had before HubSpot? I just had like a stressful flashback. It was this massive Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, and we'd have it when we were in the office. We had it projected up on the TV in the other room so that everyone else could see what I was doing because they didn't see into my system.
And nobody else knew how to use the spreadsheet.
No, and probably didn't want to or care. They were in a different department. But
so yeah, having, you know, that reporting and all of that factual information pulled together again, yeah, is another bonus.
I'm going to need a wine tonight to get over today's podcast.
But I suppose I thought it was a good share because us implementing HubSpot is aligned with, you know, a business implementing a quality management system. They'd have all the same questions, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as you're touching on those 4 points, I think that you've got sufficient evidence-based data to make a decision.
Exactly.
And that's what a boss
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you got any more to share on that one?
No, I am going
You're
to
done?
phone and call my counsellor.
Oops, sorry for bringing all of that up.
It's all right. Worst thing that's happened to me.
But it was good because you uncovered stuff I'd forgotten about. So it was a great comparison to any ISO management system. So
and I'm sure
thank you.
Our listeners can relate. So
yeah. So that's a bit of a, I suppose, extraction of that challenge that many of you might or are in the throes of being challenged by. So we've shared a little bit about our challenges or Kelly's challenges and frustrations and what the process was to go about, I suppose, changing the boss's view and getting them on side. But it's a really good segue to the second topic, which is leading across silos. And Kelly, you sort of touched on this where you said, you know, referring to me, you said, well, in the world that I work in, well, that financial side is what I'm focused on initially. And then, you know, obviously other stuff comes into play. But that, as I said, that's always my first question. But so you as like the business operations manager of ATOL, you have to be across all of the departments. They're not silos. We do communicate well, but you still have to manage across that. So that's cross-functional management. Yeah. And I'll let you give your opinion on that because you're the one that does it. I used to, but not anymore. But I did actually find a really cool article. And as you all know, I love reading Harvard Business Review articles. I love their books too. They are amazing. But in edition 48 of Lead the Standard, I actually referenced a HBR article and it was called How to Lead Across a Siloed Organization, right? So I thought it was relevant because it backs up what Kelly was saying about how she had to manage me, and get what she needed to grow the business. So the article talks about leaders who possess lateral agility. So I mentioned that before. We've got different departments, or the ability to move side to side quickly. So again, I'm doing all of this because in my head, I can see an org chart.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Kelly here, and then there's all the different departments. So that's why they call it lateral agility, or the ability to move side to side quickly, because everyone works together. That's cross-functional. The article mentions 3 traits of cross-functional leaders, and they're expanded. Well, I'll stop there so it's clear. The first one is expanded mindsets. The second is connective skills. Okay, I'm going to use my little hands again. The first one is expanded mindset. So again, with a picture of an org chart in your head, an organizational chart, with a picture of that in your head, you normally see it, across like this, and it filters down. So when I see expanded mindsets, the first trait, you need to be expanded as a cross-functional leader across all of those different parts of the business, whether, departments, there could actually be different locations as well. So expanded mindsets. Then the second one is connective skills. So connecting, all right. While they might show separate on the org chart, the person above it needs to be able to somehow pull them all together. Because while they all have their own priorities and focus, I think that's what you mentioned earlier, Kelly, they still need to work together, which reminds me, what clause is it? Clause 4.4 in 9001. It talks about inputs and outputs.
Yes.
Okay, so as soon as I, said that verbally, I could see inputs and outputs, because one department's output is the next one's input. So that feeds nicely into a quality system. And then the third one that this HBR article mentioned was innovative practices.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So coming up with a different way of tackling things, I guess. And I suppose also maybe the first thing that you try doesn't work.
Persistence.
And then it's like, okay. And I mentioned test and learn. That's corrective action. That's plan, do, check, act. That's continual improvement. I'll just keep pulling out the quality terms for you. But those innovative practices is about going, okay, what will work here? What do you think about those, Kelly? Cross-functional.
I love that innovative practices. And as you were saying them, it's again something that we're really good at, whether that's through intent and the team that we've hired, or whether it's something that we've all kind of built in and fostered as a culture here. But I've always been one, when working with teams, I'm not going to ask my team to do something that I won't do, or I don't know how to do. And that's really important, because you can't support your team if you can't do what they're doing. So I was the jack of all trades. I want to call it Jill of all trades,
Kelly of all trades.
Yeah, the Kelly of all trades. When I started, I was customer service, I was marketing, I was training and assessment, all of those things. And then as we grew, we got a new team member that looked after a different department. And even though my role ended up, prior to my current role, in that training and assessment instructional design space, I still liked to understand what everybody else was doing, because that had some form of impact on my job. Like, I built the course, but I needed to tell someone else how to sell it, or tell them what was in it so that they could provide the technical support, all those sorts of things. So even though my job was this, I didn't have to do the other jobs, but to me, it was important that they understood what they meant or had the connections that they had with each other. And I think that covers that, both those expanded mindset and that connective skills. You need to know what other people are doing, not necessarily how to do it, but what it does and how it impacts on you.
Yeah. Because understanding that means that you can ask the right questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just lost, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's too the expanded mindset. If you're not asking questions, you've got quite a closed mindset. You need to be asking questions. Our team is great at asking questions. I have a 15-minute catch up with everybody every day. And that 15 minutes is never 15 minutes because there's questions and ideas. So innovative practices. And we are constantly changing. Or I want to do this. Okay, well, hold on. In the other department, so Christine has an idea. Hang on. In marketing, we can change this. So let me have a chat with them and we'll pull together, we'll get their input. It's making sure that every idea links up some way, has a purpose, and you do have that, you said, that higher level view across every department rather than just an individual silo. I think that would drive me crazy. I've worked as a team member in silos before, but that's not fun.
Not fun. So how does this then, or how do you think this fits in with managing skeptical bosses? I'm going to throw you under the bus.
Still here. It's been 9 years. No, I think it's the same thing. If you can communicate to your boss the impact that whatever it is that you are applying has not just to you, but to your team and the wider team, and therefore the wider business, your stakeholders, your compliance, your efficiency, and that wider business impact, having these three traits, as you mentioned, expanded mindset, connective skills, and innovative practices, they do align with all of those earlier things: business impact, efficiency, compliance, and stakeholders. So it's important to make those connections and have the understanding.
Yeah, true. And as a quality manager, you not only have to get your boss on board, I guess maybe that's the first thing, but they've actually got to stay on board. Top management is a huge part of any ISO management system, but they've also got to get the team on board, don't they?
And that's a challenge.
Yeah. So that's where this cross-functional leadership comes into play.
Yeah, you need where some people love change, some people don't like change.
Yes.
Yeah, change is
that's actually another thing. It's change, isn't it? Like, because it's comfortable just to sit with what you've got. Oh, it'll take too long. And probably the unspoken one was, I'm scared. What if I don't understand it?
Yeah.
I've got too much work to do. I don't have time to learn something new. What's wrong with what we're doing now? Like all of these excuses.
Yeah. And we touched on it, I suppose, last week with you and I being able to do our daily admin tasks in half an hour because we've been doing them for nearly 10 years.
And not follow the procedure.
And not follow the procedure.
It was in our head.
That we wrote, that was in her head, and then Melissa coming on board and it taking her over like a whole day to do the daily admin because the procedure that we wrote was not the procedure we were doing in our head. And it was just, so again, that for us was like, oh, light bulb moment. It's not about me, it's about the team.
But it was in that moment, it was about us because we were so busy. It was just, I've just got to get this stuff done. Bang, 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 bang. I don't have time to follow the procedure and update the procedure and then, fix the Asana workflow, fix the HubSpot workflow, because that's what you had to end up doing. It's like, no, we don't have time now. Yeah. Let's just get it done. It's that image, that one I like with them pushing the cart. And it's got a square wheel and someone comes along with a round wheel, but the guys pushing the cart say, no, we don't have time to put that round wheel on.
I'm glad they
were so busy pushing the cart with a square wheel. It's exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. So change is very important. We had people who, they were quite happy using those systems because they could use them quickly. but that's fine. We can do the other one quicker, and you can have some time to do those things on your improvement register, in your to-do list, your dreams list, wish list.
Yeah. And there's that expanded mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that covers that, don't you think?
I think so. We could talk on for a while, but
well, it might come up anyway, because we're up to our final point, which is the final strategies for convincing your skeptical bosses. It's a great segue because we pretty much covered it anyway. So you provided a great background with our real life story with transitioning, implementing HubSpot, and all of the pushback, I guess, the challenges that you had. So just as a refresher, we call this the quality investment framework. The framework is in, what was it, edition 48, the newsletter, which you can see on LinkedIn. And you'll see like a model of the quality investment framework, but the 4 areas I'll just go through again as a recap, and Kelly, you can butt in as you see the need. We covered business impact, and I actually had, and you extended on this just in my sort of rough notes, the business impact that I initially came up with, like, you know, does this new system or platform need to manage customer complaints? Have there been complaints? Actually, that's a really good point. What's happened that you might need to go, okay, there's a better way? And now that I think about it, as an auditor, a certification auditor, looking at customer complaints, non-conformances, incidents really gives me an idea of how well the system is going, because obviously that's the outcome or the output, isn't it? So that's an indication that, okay, and we're talking about implementing a new system here, but it could be an existing system as well that needs an overhaul.
Which is
which is really what you were sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does come, like you shared all the challenges. You didn't touch on customer complaints, quality of products, or non-conformances, but like I suppose that's the quite negative output, isn't it? Because we don't want that.
You want to avoid it.
Exactly. So putting these systems in place will help to build a framework to mitigate those and manage those, prevent. As I say, when I get to clause 10, whoops, something always happens. But having a more proactive approach, is putting in a ISO management system. And the second one was efficiency. And you talked a lot about this, and my just quick words were streamlining processes and resources. But, all of the challenges you mentioned were all about efficiency, weren't they?
Yeah. And I think people do think of efficiency as just streamlining processes and resources, but there's so much out there that you do on a daily basis that does affect your efficiency. It's mitigating disruption, communication. There's quite a lot to that rather than just simple streamline.
Absolutely. And you also mentioned when you were airing your grievances earlier, you mentioned about having team meetings where you had to go, okay, are you doing that, or am I doing that? Have you done this? And
justify.
I remember writing down when you were talking about that, it was sort of like doubling up or duplication of tasks.
Yeah.
So that's inefficiency. So we want to remove that. We want to make it clear. We want a system in place that ensures that clarity over who's responsible for what.
Yeah. No more meetings for the sake of meetings.
Yeah, exactly. So that's efficiency. The third one was compliance. I think you shared with this around our commitments to ASQA and Exemplar Global.
Yep.
So that's who audits us. And having these systems in place allows us to present or find and locate our documented information efficiently. And I also mentioned reporting, and that's what made me think having that reporting, that's all about making decisions based on fact, not warm, fuzzy feeling stuff.
Yeah.
So that compliance can be wrapped up into that as well, because now we're actually making decisions, and a quality management system allows us to do that as well. Environmental management system, OH&S management system, integrated food, information security, it all allows us to collate this data and then analyze or evaluate and analyze it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sorry to cut in there, Jackie. I think
go
something
for it.
small that we haven't really thought about. We're talking here about ISO management systems in that general. But when you think about just a general management system, we mentioned last week, we're not certified to a quality management system, but we have our systems in place. And from a compliance perspective, if you've got that good quality management system in place, you're tracking your team. Like, are we following our own processes? We're internal.
Yes.
Improve. It's not just about external.
Oh, yes.
How can we improve our internal functionality, processes? Making, again, it makes everyone's life easier.
It does. No, that's an awesome point, because when you see the word compliance, you instantly think, oh, that's external. But conformance is a better word that we use for management systems, and that does apply internally as well. You're following your own procedures, and hopefully. But it also gives you the opportunity to improve them as well. So yeah, no, that's a really good point. And then finally, we talked about stakeholders. So, you know, I just mentioned customers, suppliers. Kelly, you mentioned contractors and staff members, workers, visitors. So what influence do they have? What are their expectations? How have they been impacted by a system that may not be as efficient as it could be? How would they benefit from having this ISO management system? Okay, as Kelly mentioned, what's the investment? What's the return on that investment?
And that might not just be financial. That could be
exactly.
Good. Yeah, good PR, could be more happy staff, could be, there's investment doesn't necessarily mean dollars, but that's a good start. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add to that recap before I move on to our ATOL community?
No, I don't have anything to add to that, but I do have a couple of questions from the community today. So I'm happy to open the floor straight to them. So
okay.
These ones, I suppose the answer to this is not $55 or $65 million, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It's a three-pronged question. How much does a QMS cost to implement?
That's a hard question to answer.
Would you like the other two parts at the same time, or do you want me to come back to them? Because you might cover all three.
Well, just, go on.
How much does a QMS cost to implement? How big is a QMS to implement? And how long does it take?
Oh, goodness.
How much? How big? How long?
Okay, $, how long does it take? That's time.
To implement it?
Yeah, and how big does it have to be?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. So, all right, I'll start with the dollars. If anyone's listening that has experience with certification bodies and, quoting on the length and duration, you can pop something in the chat if you've got anything to add. But obviously my experience as a certification auditor, like, how much does it cost? Well, it depends. I can't give you that answer because it initially depends on, there's so many dependencies. How many full-time equivalent staff there are, so FTE. So that means if you've got full-time staff, that's easy. But if you've got one person that works 2 days a week and another that works 3 days a week, that's considered one. So the first thing you have to do is figure out, well, how many FTE, how many full-time equivalent workers do you have? And there's a really good guideline. It's the IAF guidelines. I don't know if we can provide that somehow, Kelly. Yeah, throw the link in. But there is a document that certification bodies actually use to manage that and, well, determine that initial duration, they call it. So that's the first point. Then other considerations, and I call these additive or subtractive factors, is, say with quality, is design and development a part of it? How, if they're integrated with other systems, how well integrated are the systems, or are they 3 completely separate systems? What else? Oh, history, previous history. Have they had non-conformances or incidents before? Oh, what industry do they work in? Is it a high-risk industry? So obviously with high risk, it normally requires more, I call it duration, more time to conduct the audit. And this is, and I know I'm coming from an audit perspective, but all of these also drive, what was it? How long it takes to build it and how big it is. Okay, so all of these influences have the same impact on the audit duration and how long it takes to build, and the time and how big the system is. Risk is a huge factor. Okay, the complexity of what you do. It could be, say, a manufacturing environment, and they have 100 staff, but 80 of them all work on the production floor, and they only produce one type of bolt in one color. Okay. Pretty basic. Okay, there's, and 80 of the staff do the same role. Okay, so that could decrease the time it takes. But a good example I use as a more complex one, I used to audit a company, and they were triple certified. So again, quality, environment, OH&S. They primarily were civil construction. So they had the civil construction. So that was projects. That's the other thing, locations, the number of locations that you have to go to that are within that scope. They also did bulk earthwork. So that's more so, just moving some dirt around, but it's still a different part of the business. Sorry, Kelly.
It's a big job.
It is a big job. And then they also had heavy haulage. So they moved their own plant and equipment around, but they also moved others around. They had a couple of trucks there. They did plant hire, wet and dry, so with an operator or not. So that was external. And they also had a workshop where they conducted all of their maintenance on their own plant and equipment, but others. So can you imagine, like, building that system is a lot more complex than it is to build the nuts and bolts, that, factory that did one thing. So I can't give that answer because it depends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give another example of that complexity. And this story's kind of stuck in my head for quite some time. When we were applying for our RTO status, however many years ago that was, I remember the discussion, and I can't remember if it was Jackie, you or the auditor told me the story, or shared the story. And it was about another RTO provider and the complexity, the lack of complexity, I suppose, in his system. He had his management system in a foolscap folder, and all of his student records in boxes by competency unit in the back of his ute, because he was the apprentice, dealt with apprentices on all of the farm sites in rural New South Wales. So his system, I think, would have cost him a couple of $100 at Officeworks. But but then you've got somebody who could be using some of the big systems. I know Kudos is one of the platforms that we recommended. So there's lots of systems and platforms out there, but it doesn't have to be that complex. So SharePoint, OneDrive, OneNote. And
that's actually a really good point, that the system itself and the methods you use or media you use to build the system really depends on the complexity and the size of the organization and the risk of the activities, products and services that you deliver.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose I covered building the system, but if you're getting it certified, that's on top of that as well. So, and that's an ongoing, an annual thing also. So really, if you're looking at building a system, it depends. So probably, look around, get some quotes on building it. But also if you're getting certified, remember to factor that in as well, because that is on top of that.
Consultants fees as well in there if you need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, that was the 3 questions that we had today, Jackie. So thank you for that.
No worries.
As we close today's episode, I do want to thank everybody who has joined us both on Facebook and here in Zoom, and everyone listening at home. Remember that every step you take towards understanding and leveraging the ISO standards can pave your way to a transformative quality career. So keep pushing the boundaries and exploring all your new possibilities. Don't forget, if you are an ATOL student, you can participate each week in the live Q&A sessions, just like we did then. This is one of the exclusive perks of ATOL enrollment. For those who haven't enrolled and joined us yet, please do visit our website. We have an amazing end of financial year sale running for May and June. So now is the time to become a member of the ATOL community. Speak with Christine. She will look after you. So until next week, please join us in not just meeting the standards, but leading them.
Oh
Thanks.
my God.
Thanks for joining us once again as we lead the standard. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast for more episodes just like this. And don't forget to leave a review if you found today's episode informative and inspiring. If you're already an ATOL student, remember participating in live Q&A sessions just like this is one of the exclusive perks of your enrolment. And if you're not already a student, join us at our website, www.auditortrainingonline.com, to learn more about our courses and how you can start making a difference in your career in ISO management system standards. So join us again next week as we not just meet the standards, but we lead them.